Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
And I'm Sean.
And we watch movies.
Yes, we do. Lots of them.
We do watch a lot of movies. I write about movies. We talk about movies. And here we are.
Talking about movies.
As we do. But lately, the conversation has turned a little serious. And it is difficult for many of us to know when and if we should jump into the conversation, if we have a place here, if we have a voice. But I don't think that silence is appropriate.
I think everyone should agree on that. Silence doesn't accomplish anything. And as privileged white people, we need to be involved and supportive. We need to be sure that we're not driving the conversation. We need to ask how we can help. But silence is not helping anyone. It never has.
That's right. So, like Sean said, this is a time to listen and to learn. But I think it's very important for white people to be having the conversation amongst ourselves to figure out how we can be not just allies, but also agents for change, because for things to really change, it's never been just about a minority group. We all need to be in on it.
That's the really problematic thing about democracy as a system. Majority rules in many cases, and this is a case where that's not acceptable. The majority is the problem.
Right. So we need to move over. So we are, of course, talking about the Black Lives Movement, which started in the US after yet more murders at the hands of Black people, at the hands of police. These protests against racism generally and police brutality have now proliferated around the world, including in our country and in our city here in Ottawa. And it's a difficult time because we're also recovering from a pandemic. So not all of us can be on the streets marching, even if our hearts want us to be. And a movie channel perhaps does not have a lot of contribution to make, but we will do what we can.
Well, we'll do what we can, and I think it's interesting because a really good way to see things from someone else's perspective is to watch a movie.
That's right. It's to see those stories. So the way communities and neighborhoods and school districts are measured out still puts a lot of white people among white people and Black people among Black people, and unless you're in a very big city, there may not be a lot of crossover in your life. So maybe movies are a way to get to know another person's experience that is different from your own.
I think that's a good point about the segregation. In a lot of cases is still present. Whether or not we're aware of it, whether or not we even intend for that to happen, that is the way that a lot of places are set up.
That's right.
And that's you then have no context, no idea of what's going on in someone else's life.
That's right. And I think that is part of the greater problem that we probably need to be talking more about, because while I do think it is important to remember George Floyd, his is just the newest on a very long list of Black bodies that have been murdered by mostly white police. A very long list. But I also don't think that racist cops are just a few bad apples. I don't think that even policing is generally the problem. I think our culture is the problem. On Netflix, actually, there's a series called 100 Humans. And so they just have 100 randomly selected people, and they're kind of doing experiments, psychological and otherwise experiments, just to see what really the default is. And they did have an episode about sort of racism. And the thing is, we have all grown up in this culture. White, Black, and other, we have all grown up in this culture. So the media and the news, our institutions, the government, they all have informed us. And so even if you do not want to be racist, there are parts inside of you that you don't even control that have been trained to think in these racist ways, to think of a criminal as probably a black person, for example. I think that has been long since reinforced over and over on the news.
Yep. Including now.
Yes, including now. Thank you. So I think we need to talk about the institutional racism because we are all part of that, and that's very uncomfortable. I know I really struggled to claim the identity of a racist, but I, have been reading extensively and trying to figure out how I can be better. And I believe that we are, each and every one of us, racist. But that word is a loaded word. It's
you want to fight against it. You absolutely want to say, no, I'm not. It's not me. And
that's great. I think the first step to any problem is admitting you have it. So I know for myself, once I realized that a lot of this stuff is baked in, and it's not just racism. We have a lot of crappy things that get baked into us because of our culture, but this is a really big one that is costing people their lives. So it is long overdue that we address this. But it's going to take a system overload. And we all have to get in on it. And we all have to admit that we have been influenced by the culture we've grown up in. And I think when I start admitting that, then I have a place from where I can evaluate the thoughts and the feelings that come up. And that's how you try to actively fight them and question them. And I think, when we still rely on just our unconscious bias still plays a part.
Yeah, that's the culture. Mm-hmm. That's what we've all grown up with, as you said. And that 100 Humans show, there's a lot of stuff in there that is interesting, but I did think that was probably the most interesting part. Mm-hmm. It's not just white people that are showing these racist predispositions, programming. It's everyone. Mm-hmm. Everyone is more likely to shoot the black person than the white person. Mm-hmm. Unarmed, both, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's not close.
No, it's pretty overwhelming. So we have a really big problem, and we need a really big solution. So I want to join the protest, and I want to be part of the solution. And I think it does start with knowing each other better and mixing amongst each other better and understanding where other people come from. Because it is very hard, especially when we have our passions are lit and everything's ignited, and it's hard to have a conversation. I know it is. I still struggle with it. That word makes all of us defensive. But let's look beyond it and take the stigma away and just get to the practical solutions. So we have been putting together a list of movies that maybe we can share with each other about the Black experience. These are largely North American stories, and some of them are even streaming for free. So we first heard about Just Mercy being available on streaming platforms for free. So Just Mercy stars Michael B. Jordan as a young lawyer who, actually wants to change the world and help his people. And so he sets up a small kind of grassroots office almost, and he's just helping people in prison get a fair shake. Because the American justice system does not really measure justice, it measures money.
Money. It's crazy.
Yes.
It's unbelievable the difference in the treatment of black people versus white people in that system.
Exactly. So when we say that the police force has racism baked in, and obviously it does, and individually we have racism baked in. So even a very nice cop nice does not equal not racist. That's the thing. We all have this inside of us. And the more you have been able to meet people who are not like you, people who are maybe a different race or a different color, the more you know those people, the more you have already internally fought those stereotypes, because you have experienced a lot of non-stereotypical behavior. But if you have been in a pretty insular community, when everyone around you, you're obviously your family, but your friends, your schoolmates, your workmates, if they're all white, then nothing has ever challenged those notions that we all have baked in. So if the individuals are racist and the police force is racist and they're picking up black people at a much larger number, being violent with them, but on an exponentially larger number, and then they get to the justice system, which is also crazy racist, where a white person is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and a black person, I think, quite the opposite.
Yeah, and the money also factors in there, which
Absolutely.
again is just statistically a white person is going to make bail and a black person is not.
That's right.
And then the black person is leaned on to plea out so they don't have to wait in jail until their trial, who knows how many months or years later.
Yes.
And the white person has none of that pressure, so can go about their lives until that trial. And then, yeah, if there's a good deal on the table, they'll take it. And if there's not, then they'll just have their day in court. Black people so often don't get their day in court because it's about money.
Yep. And how many black people right now in America are in jail because of weed? And how many white men are making money on the stock market investing in now legalized weed? And yet we've made it legal for white people to make money with it, but lots of people are still in jail for it, which is nuts.
Stupid.
But this is the system. So Just Mercy is a great film.
Yes, it is.
Michael B. Jordan, Brie Larson, check it out. It's
Jamie
for
Foxx.
free. Yes, that's right. Next week, oh my gosh, I'm excited for this. June 12th on Netflix. Be there. It's a Spike Lee joint. So Da 5 Bloods. Look for that next Friday. So excited to see that one. While you're on Netflix, check out 13th. It's a great documentary by Ava DuVernay about the American prison system.
Yeah, the for-profit system that is essentially institutionalized slavery. It is amazing. It's really, it's so well done, and it shows you how the system has been designed in this way to basically keep slavery alive.
That's the thing. They made slavery illegal. They were like, okay, optically that sounds really bad, but if we can find a way to still pick up an awful lot of black bodies, we can make them do free labor that way. Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's written right into the 13th Amendment.
That's the thing. So much of this stuff is written into our culture. That's what we need to be fighting against, not each other as individuals. I mean, Sean knows I say this all the time. There are like 340 different dog breeds. There is only one of humans. We just have slightly different shades, but we are all the same breed. Dogs come in so many different breeds. So 2 cute puppies have less in common than every of the 7 billion people on Earth. We're just shades on an actually sad, really little spectrum. All the other animals get to have like the colors of the rainbow, and we have like, well, we say white to black, but really it's like beige to brown.
Yeah, light pink to dark pink,
Yeah. It's really not that exciting of a spectrum there, but that's all that separates us. So how on earth could we have done something incredibly wrong to have somehow ended up with this?
Yeah.
So yes, still on Netflix, American Son. I was deeply and disturbingly moved by this movie, which is Kerry Washington's just amazing performance as a mother of a black son who knows that her son is missing. So she is at a police precinct trying to find him, trying to locate him. And so they trace her car, which he is driving, and we know that he has been involved in a traffic stop. And so it is just this like intense hour and a half waiting for the news, which she, as a black mother, goes to some dark places immediately, has some really big fears, and of course she's got, I think, a white husband and a white police officer who are trying to calm her, and it's a very intense movie. Kerry Washington is wonderful in it, but I think it does a very good job of putting you in those shoes, because I think about that all the time, about black parents having to tell their children about this world that we live in. And I don't even know how you do that.
No, my dad never had to sit me down and tell me how not to get shot by the police. Mm-hmm. But that is a conversation that has to happen in so many homes.
Mm-hmm. How to drive when you're black, how to shop when you're black. Like, it's, I don't know. But a movie like this helps me to see, and just the fear. I've been pulled over by the police before. You've been
many times.
Over by the police
many
before.
times.
And it never even crossed my mind that I should be worried in any way.
No, because it never goes badly for us. Mm-hmm. No matter what we've done, you hand over your license and your insurance paperwork, and you're on your way in 5 minutes, and maybe you have to pay them some money. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the only bad thing that ever happens, is you get a ticket.
Yeah.
If you're us.
If you're white. Yes. So another one that I really love is Blind Spotting. I saw this movie at South by Southwest. It's with Debbie Diggs and Raphael Cassell. And it's like a holy cow movie.
And I'm looking forward to seeing this, because I didn't get a chance to see it with you at South by.
That's right.
And this one is available in Canada on Cineplex for free.
Yes, Cineplex actually has a good long list of movies about the black experience, and just a couple of fun ones thrown in too, because...
Yeah, Spider-Verse.
Which is such a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Yes.
We talked about whether to include it on the list. I'm not sure it really fits in this particular list, but it's also there.
Yes. But yes, Blind Spotting, so incredible, so tense. I think it's one of those movies that shifted perspective for me, that I felt changed by. And not that there's anything in there that was particularly revelatory, but there's a difference between knowing that this happens and then it happening to someone you know, which is what you feel like when it's well written and the protagonist starts to feel like your friend, and something shitty like this happens to him and you can't believe it. And that's the thing, like, all of these things can seem so remote because they're not happening to me. But when they are happening to this person you know, even when it's just a movie, suddenly it becomes more real, and we can understand as a fellow human being, as a friend, as a sister. It starts to feel a lot more personal.
And also that there is a problem and there is something that we need to change. Because it is all too easy to dismiss it as not a real thing if you don't know anyone that this has happened to. But the reality is, I bet you do know someone that this has happened to. They just haven't shared it with you. And maybe that's something too, as part of this conversation.
Yes. Well, this is, I think, a time for the Me Too, when suddenly every woman you know was using that hashtag, and it was shocking a lot of nice young men who didn't know that women were having such a hard time, even though, we'd kind of been saying it for a while. But until you get the ball rolling and it becomes everyone, because it is scary to speak out, and certainly for a black person who already feels that they are under the microscope. They're not trying to rock the boat any further. Even though we need a super rocking boat, guys. We need to rock this boat. But we also have to be providing the life rafts, because it's not enough for them to be sticking their necks out when it was already their neck being kneed.
Right.
So, Loving is on the list. A really great movie. Ruth Negga is wonderful in it. And
Joel Edgerton, the guy who I can never remember his name, ever.
This guy is like a ghost to Sean.
Yeah.
He doesn't ever see him. Somehow he still can't recognize him in movies. I don't know what's going on with that, but he is your blind spot.
Yes, he is.
But they play a married couple when it was still illegal for a mixed race couple to get married.
Or to be married. This is not a situation just where they're not allowed to get married.
Yes.
They get married out of state and then they're persecuted for it.
Mm-hmm. So imagine falling in love and being told that not only can you not, but you're going to jail for it. And of course, other people can relate to that, because until very recently, a lot of gay marriage was not allowed. But I think that there still is stigma around the mixed race couple.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm. So I think that, again, is a good conversation piece, and it's based on an actual historical case. The Hate U Give, we saw them together at TIFF.
I believe we did.
I had read the book, of course, so that's why it was immediately on my list. A very powerful film. It is about police brutality. It is exactly this moment.
Yep.
It is exactly this moment. So trigger warning. This is it. This is as relevant as it gets. And it's rough. And it's not just rough for the person we lose, but it's rough for the community, the families. Like, in my line of work, we talk about sort of inherited trauma, cultural trauma, your ancestral trauma, and I think that's a worthwhile conversation. It's not just about what's happening today, but it's about generations worth of oppression, and that actually does get into our DNA.
For sure, and that's baggage on all sides of the past still being carried with us.
Yeah.
And one more reason to have these conversations to try and exercise those demons.
So I think it was at the same festival that you saw Monsters and Men.
It absolutely was.
Okay.
That was within a few days.
Yeah.
And I think there even was one other movie at that TIFF that was on this same subject, which is officer-involved shootings / black people getting killed by police.
Yeah. So, and this was a couple of years ago now, and obviously, these names just keep coming.
Yeah.
Right? Like we keep getting this in waves. We can only hope that this will be the tsunami that changes everything.
Absolutely.
And I know it's a scary in the moment to be in the tsunami, but it needs to happen.
Yeah.
So Monsters and Men you enjoyed.
I thought it was really well done.
Enjoy.
Yes.
That is probably
I thought
the wrong word,
it's really well done. I think as far as I think The Hate U Give is a more unique story. But I think both are important, and there certainly is the opportunity in either of them to examine all of these issues that are at play as to how does this happen, and what are the perceptions, and how is the media spinning it and using it, for the war that is being propagated by all of these, trying to put everyone on different sides. And that's a huge thing to overcome, and I hope we are able to do that right now.
So another one that's almost in the same vein that is excellent is Fruitvale Station. So that's even a couple years older.
Yes, it is.
That is Michael B. Jordan in a title role. Crazy, crazy good. Ryan Coogler, their first collaboration, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, well, it was Michael B. Jordan's first leading role in a movie.
So this is a really good movie. Again, this one is based on a real thing that happened, another name on the list. And yeah.
It's a terrifying story, as so many are. Well, they all really are. I mean, I don't care, like, about anything else. Don't kill people. Don't kill people. There shouldn't be this anything else of what was this guy doing. Doesn't matter. He didn't deserve to get killed by the police.
That's right. So, I mean, so many of these are traumatic. But it's not doing us any good to ignore it.
No.
It's not going away.
No, it's getting worse in a way that is somewhat positive in that we're seeing more of it. More is being captured on video. And that is very sad. And yet, at least we can start doing something about this with evidence of what has occurred, which has always historically been the problem, is that cops are covering up for other cops. And so the party line will be that nothing wrong occurred and the bad guy had to be shot. When, as we're seeing, that's usually not the case.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I am concerned, or as far as I know, I mean, cops aren't supposed to be shooting even the criminals.
No,
you know,
that's
except
right.
under extremely extreme circumstances. But certainly, and I mean, it's not just cops. In America,
no, it's private citizens.
There's some real bad shit going down where people somehow think they could just shoot somebody who's jogging by. Although, then they also think when they burst into somebody's house accidentally or while they're sleeping, like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so Get Out. That is also on the list that you
Yep.
can watch for free on Cineplex. Such a good movie. That is a
So
horror
good.
movie I saw in theaters, guys, because I love Jordan Peele.
Yep.
But I didn't know he was this kind of talented.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So this 100% speaks to the Black experience. And I think it's really interesting because, I don't know, I hope I'm not spoiling it, guys. Yeah, it is about a young Black man who's going to meet his white girlfriend's family for the first time. And he meets them and the family like, oh, they're cool, we don't see color, we voted for Obama or whatever. Like that very sort of fragile, liberal, we're cool thing. And that puts us all on edge because if you have to try that hard to not seem racist, then you're fighting something.
Yeah, and it's probably racism.
It probably is. And that, it reminded me a lot of like Little Fires Everywhere.
Yeah,
just
very
that
much.
sort of like, we know it's bad, but we still feel it, so we're trying real hard to like...
It's just the facade that everyone sees through.
Yeah.
Except the person that's putting it up, perhaps.
Yes. So Get Out is just brilliant because it distills all of that thing in kind of an extreme way.
Yeah.
And yet, it really rings true.
Yes, it does.
Which is the most horrific part of the
Yes,
horror
it
movie.
is. Yeah.
Okay, so If Beale Street Could Talk.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So again, we saw this at TIFF because I could, after Moonlight. And then we saw Barry Jenkins speak at South by Southwest.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Just an amazing, amazing person. If you have the chance to hear him speak or to go to something where he's at, do it.
Yeah.
He's unbelievably talented and he's a brilliant, brilliant person.
That's right. And you may remember back in the day, his first movie that was a wide feature-length release, Moonlight, lost the Oscar to La La Land. But actually they won.
They won.
The envelope was incorrectly read. La La Land went up and accepted the award. And then they corrected it, but Moonlight never really got a chance to shine.
It never got its thing, yeah.
So we actually got to hear him deliver the speech he had prepared. And it is here, hopefully I can put up the link because we do have it.
We have it on tape, yeah.
And it is spectacular. But he is just a really talented guy. We were so excited to see his next oeuvre, If Beale Street Could Talk. Now, I had read this book, and it is amazing. And I can't believe how well it is adapted by Barry Jenkins. Because it is a very the prose is exceedingly beautiful. Even though we're talking about really deep, hurtful, painful themes, it's told so beautifully, I think the movie somehow is able to internalize some of that poetry. And it's just a gorgeous film to watch. Agonizing in parts, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Man.
Great movie.
Yeah, it is.
It really was, flew under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
It did not get a lot of awards buzz.
And it should have.
It should have. It's a really excellent movie from 2018 or whenever it was. I don't remember the exact year.
It is hard to remember. Selma.
We talked about Ava DuVernay with 13th. Well, this is another Ava DuVernay. This is historical. This is Martin Luther King and the town where they march over the bridge. Forgive me, I'm sorry, I don't remember. Selma, Indiana. No, Selma, Alabama.
I was going to say, you don't
It's in the title. I didn't remember the name.
Think a little harder, Sean.
Selma, Alabama.
Yes. So I remember seeing this in theaters. We actually were at an early press screening, and it is the kind of movie that makes you want to stand up for it at the end. Like this, she was not there, but you want to give it a standing ovation because you just feel so, not just moved, but like inspired and invigorated. Yeah, that is a great movie.
Yes, it is. And obviously very topical when we talk about the protests that are happening now. This is a protest for civil rights in the late 60s, and you can really see how little has changed.
Yeah, I was just thinking like how sad he would be to know that we're still have
here
to do this.
Yeah.
That we still are fighting the same fight.
Yeah.
That's rough. It's rough. We've disappointed a lot of people.
It is not a good day for Martin Luther King or George Floyd, despite what others may tell you.
Yeah. I don't think they're proud of us. Detroit. So again, I think this one flew under the radar. It's Catherine Bigelow who directed it. It is about Detroit riots. My gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very really powerful. It is, again, just an illustration of the systemic problems that we have and have ignored. Because, again, this is like the 70s, and you can say the same thing is happening today.
Yeah. Whew. So, two other movies that are worth checking out, again, under any circumstances, but you may have missed the first time around. Black Klansman.
Oh, excellent. Spike Lee.
Last one. Such a good movie. David Washington kind of burst onto the scene in it.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, so he plays a black police officer who infiltrates the KKK.
And this is a real story.
It is a real story. I mean, you couldn't make it up.
No.
No one would believe it if it was
Yeah, if it was fiction. This really happened.
This really happened. So, I mean, Spike Lee is a genius. All of his movies come from his, he's got a voice and he's got a perspective. And that's why his movies are so good, because he puts so much passion into them. And this movie was really good, but then when you watch to the end, I remember just being blown away by how he works stuff into the end, and you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, because this is a historical event
right.
that he is making relevant for today in so many ways, and it is brilliant how he does it because it's not forced at all.
No, I think that's the sad thing, is that how easy it is to make it relevant today. And that's sort of the theme of so many of these things. Even looking at Selma, still relevant today. And of course, Sorry to Bother You. Boots Riley came out of nowhere with this one. It is a crazy movie. Let's put that out there.
Oh, it's insane.
It may not be for everyone.
Well, I think you gotta watch it.
Give it a try.
It is brilliant.
It deserves to be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. But he also has a lot to say. I'll just say, like, generally, it's about people who go to work in a call center. So Lakeith Stanfield is our protagonist, and his girlfriend, played by Tessa Thompson, who I love. Anyways, so he goes to work at a call center, and he learns from his buddies that the way to succeed is to adopt this white voice. So that's just what it's about at the base sort of plot level. Things really go crazy bananas.
You will not see where this movie is going.
Course you won't.
You will not believe where it gets.
But it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
And again, it has a point of view. I think it's kind of fantastic, the risks it takes, and I love it's outside the box. It discarded of the box. It's like the box is not even in the room anymore. It's very interesting. I mean, there are so many, especially right now, all of this amazing Black talent. It's so great to hear it from more diverse voices. We have been very lucky lately with sort of like the success of Black Panther, for example, which is amazing. And that is, I mean, those aren't even real.
It's not a real movie. Yeah.
No. And yet, again, Ryan Coogler did ground it with the scenes in LA.
Yeah, he did.
So I did feel like even though Wakanda is sort of a dream, he still roots it into reality. And so you can still feel the power of that.
Absolutely. And there is power in a Black superhero.
For sure.
Because that's something representation matters so much, which is something I took for granted. And we're starting to really see the emphasis on that. Mm-hmm. It's not there yet. We need to go more, but
of course.
Yeah, if I have Superman to look up to and he's white, it's so much easier to picture yourself as Superman. And that again, culturally, yeah, ideally we'd be past that, but we're not. So let's have superheroes up there for everyone.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So right now, all of the Black superheroes are leading the protest. And we thank you for your work. And we stand behind you, and we are willing to stand in front of you.
Yeah.
So go out, see some Black stories, watch movies by Black storytellers, and make sure you speak up.
Support.
That's right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye.